One of the intriguing puzzles lies beneath the surface of Rock Lake, a serene freshwater body located in Wisconsin, USA. Unlike the towering pyramids of Egypt or the grand stone temples of Mesoamerica, these formations remain concealed underwater, their shapes veiled beneath cloudy depths. Known as the Rock Lake Pyramids, these sunken structures have captured the imagination of divers, historians, and scientists alike, many of whom speculate they represent traces of an ancient, forgotten civilization that flourished in North America long before documented history. Rock Lake, situated near the small town of Lake Mills, Wisconsin, seems unremarkable at first, a peaceful lake encircled by gently rolling hills and dense woodlands. However, below its calm surface lies something extraordinary, apparent large, human-crafted stone formations arranged in a manner implying they were once components of a more extensive settlement or architectural complex. Early diving explorations reported that these underwater formations resemble pyramidal shapes, some reaching heights of up to 18 feet with slanted sides and flat summits, eerily reminiscent of pyramid designs found in diverse ancient cultures worldwide. The earliest accounts of these structures trace back centuries. Native American oral traditions from the surrounding area speak of a sunken metropolis beneath the lake, a city that once rested on dry ground before being engulfed by rising waters. Some indigenous legends even describe the lake as the former domain of a mighty civilization that vanished mysteriously, leaving only submerged remnants. For years, these stories were dismissed as mere myth until the 20th century, when modern divers began reporting actual stone structures beneath the lake's surface. Serious investigation of the Rock Lake pyramids commenced in the 1930s, when fishermen and boaters observed unusual rock formations beneath the crystal-clear water. But it was not until the 1960s and 1970s that divers and sonar technology confirmed the presence of sizable geometric shapes resting on the lakebed. Some reports claim there were at least 10 pyramid-like structures, arranged in patterns that suggested intentional human construction rather than random geological formations. This discovery ignited intense debate. If these were man-made, who constructed them and how ancient were they? Certain researchers theorize that the Rock Lake pyramids might be linked to the ancient Mississippian culture, a pre-Columbian society that thrived in the eastern United States between roughly 800 and 1600 AD. The Mississippians were renowned for building enormous earth mounds, often pyramid-shaped with flat tops where temples or other significant buildings stood. Could the submerged structures beneath Rock Lake be remnants of a Mississippian city later lost to flooding? Others suggest an even more ancient origin, proposing the pyramids date back to the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago, when retreating glaciers caused water levels to surge and submerge settlements that once stood dry. If accurate, this would make the Rock Lake pyramids among the oldest known man-made constructions in North America, possibly predating even the Egyptian pyramids. Skeptics, however, argue these formations are natural stone outcrops sculpted by glacial movement, not human creation. They emphasize that while sonar images and dive reports indicate pyramid-like forms, no conclusive archaeological proof, such as artifacts, tools, or carvings, has surfaced to verify deliberate construction. Lacking such evidence, the Rock Lake pyramids remain caught between myth and reality, their true nature uncertain. Adding to the intrigue, some scholars connect the Rock Lake pyramids with the nearby Aztalan State Park, the site of an ancient Native American settlement once flourishing in what is now Wisconsin. Aztalan features large, flat-topped earth mounds strikingly similar in shape to the pyramidal forms reported under Rock Lake. Some speculate that the builders of Aztalan might have created similar constructions near the lake, only to have them submerged by rising waters over time. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Rock Lake pyramids is their orientation. Certain researchers claim the structures align with astronomical phenomena, possibly corresponding to solstices or other celestial cycles. Such positioning would indicate advanced planning and profound knowledge of the heavens. comparable to other ancient pyramid building cultures worldwide. Despite numerous investigations, the origins and functions of the Rock Lake pyramids remain elusive. The lake's murky waters, shifting sediments, and underwater vegetation have hindered detailed study. Several divers have reported limited visibility, complicating efforts to obtain clear photographs or precise measurements of the formations. Yet, one fact remains undisputed. The Rock Lake pyramids continue to enthrall those determined to uncover North America's hidden past. Whether remnants of a sophisticated ancient civilization or simply natural geological structures mistaken for human handiwork, they contribute to mounting evidence that the pre-Columbian history of the Americas is far more intricate and layered than previously imagined. The Rock Lake pyramids stand as an eerie testament to history concealed beneath the surface, sometimes literally. Whether they are relics of a vanished society or geological curiosities mimicking human design, their existence prompts compelling questions about the past. Did thriving civilizations once flourish in North America long before recorded history, leaving behind only submerged ruins? Or are we projecting our hopes and interpretations onto enigmatic shapes in the lake's depths? Until further research delivers definitive answers, the mystery endures. Not all lost chapters of history lie beneath the waves. Some rest hidden within the earth itself, waiting for a curious hand to unearth them. Deep within the Amazon rainforest, a region once believed to be a pristine, untouched wilderness, an astonishing discovery has compelled archaeologists to reevaluate their understanding of this vast area. This is the story of Amazonian terra preta, an artificially enriched, highly fertile soil that reveals the ancient Amazon was not a wild, empty jungle, but the domain of sophisticated civilizations capable of large-scale environmental modification beyond what we have yet fully grasped. For centuries, the Amazon was thought to be unsuitable for extensive human habitation. The native soil here is notoriously poor in nutrients, making conventional farming nearly impossible. Early European explorers dismissed the indigenous peoples they met as small, scattered tribes and assumed the rainforest had never fostered complex societies. The prevailing belief was that nature reigned supreme here, with minimal human influence. However, this notion began to crumble after the discovery of terra preta, an unusual, nutrient-rich soil scattered throughout the rainforest. Unlike the thin, quickly exhausted natural soils of the Amazon, terra preta is dark, almost black, and astonishingly fertile. It retains moisture effectively and supports sustainable agriculture over centuries without losing its productivity. Even more remarkable is that this soil is not naturally occurring. It was deliberately created by ancient Amazonian inhabitants thousands of years ago. European explorers first noted patches of this fertile black earth during the 19th century, noticing areas where the land's productivity starkly contrasted with the surrounding poor soil. Subsequent scientific analysis revealed that terra preta contains high levels of charcoal, broken pottery fragments, bones, and organic residues, all indicating it was formed through a deliberate process of soil enrichment. But why would ancient peoples need to manufacture their own soil? The answer lies in supporting large populations. The presence of terra preta suggests that the Amazon was once home to thriving, organized communities practicing intensive agriculture. If accurate, this challenges the notion of the rainforest as a purely natural ecosystem, hinting instead at a landscape shaped and managed by human hands over millennia. Research shows that terra preta was created by gradually incorporating organic materials into the earth over generations. Ancient Amazonians likely burned vegetation and waste, mixing the resulting charcoal with food leftovers, bones, and other organic matter. This method not only enriched the soil, but also enhanced its ability to retain nutrients and water, allowing crops to flourish in regions previously unsuitable for farming. Unlike modern agricultural methods that tend to deplete soil nutrients, terra preta grows more fertile with time. This discovery has profound implications. If ancient Amazonians engineered their environment on such a grand scale, the image of the Amazon as a sparsely inhabited wilderness needs serious revision. Some scholars now estimate that millions of people may have once lived in the Amazon basin, forming complex societies that constructed vast settlements, managed extensive farmlands, and shaped a landscape far removed from a pristine forest. Supporting this theory is the recent unearthing of lost cities buried beneath the jungle canopy, revealed by LiDAR technology, laser scanning that penetrates thick vegetation. These scans have uncovered extensive networks of roads, canals, and geometric earthworks, indicating civilizations as advanced as those in Mesoamerica or the Andes. Yet, if these complex societies thrived, why is there so little evidence visible today? Some historians argue that devastating diseases brought by European explorers in the 1500s wiped out up to 90% of the indigenous population, leading to societal collapse. With diminished numbers, many settlements were quickly overtaken by the rapidly reclaiming rainforest, leaving behind only scattered ruins and the enduring soil signature of terra preta. The tale of Amazonian terra preta also prompts broader reflections on humanity's impact on nature. While modern deforestation is seen as a recent environmental catastrophe, terra preta reveals that ancient Amazonians modified their environment in sustainable ways, enriching the land rather than exhausting it. Today, scientists believe studying terra preta's formation could inspire modern sustainable farming methods, potentially addressing soil degradation and deforestation crises. Despite ongoing research, many questions about terra preta remain unanswered. How did ancient peoples discover this soil-enhancing technique? Was it a planned innovation or an accidental discovery refined over time? How widespread was this practice? And might there be other forgotten agricultural technologies hidden in the rainforest? What we do know is that terra preta is far more than a scientific curiosity. It represents a lost world, a civilization flourishing where once we assumed none could. Like other archaeological mysteries, such as the Rock Lake Pyramids, the Baltic Sea anomaly, and the Brazilian geoglyphs, the existence of terra preta challenges long-held assumptions and invites us to wonder what secrets still lie buried beneath the forest canopy. The Amazon may appear as a wild, untouched expanse, but beneath the surface lies evidence of something far older and more intricate. If ancient Amazonians could reshape their environment to create sustainable ecosystems lasting millennia, what other achievements might they have realized? What knowledge was lost with the disappearance of their cultures, and could their forgotten wisdom offer new ways for us to live in harmony with the land? Until further discoveries come to light, terra preta remains one of the greatest clues to a vanished world, a testament that the past quietly endures beneath the rainforest soil, waiting to be understood. Throughout history, there have been artifacts suggesting knowledge that surpasses their era, objects that don't neatly fit into conventional narratives. Some are dismissed as oddities, others spark ongoing debate about what ancient civilizations truly knew. One such artifact was found in Egypt, buried in the sands of Saqqara, a curious wooden figurine believed by some to hint at early understanding of flight, long before human aviation officially began. This enigmatic object, called the Saqqara bird, was uncovered in 1898 during an excavation of a tomb in Saqqara, an ancient necropolis near Cairo. At first glance, it seemed an ordinary small wooden carving, about 7 inches long, featuring a gracefully curved body and wings. It was initially assumed to be simply this peculiar bird-like sculpture, possibly a ritual object or a symbolic depiction of one of Egypt's many revered animals, was initially thought to be no more than an artistic expression. But upon deeper investigation, scholars began to notice strange aspects of its structure. Contrary to typical avian sculptures from that era, this particular figure had a straight, upright tail, much like the vertical stabilizer on a modern airplane, rather than the typical splayed tail feathers of a real bird. Its wings were also designed flat and aligned in a way that appeared to prioritize aerodynamics over ornamentation. It seemed as though it had been crafted to move smoothly through the air, rather than simply portray a bird. This sparked an astonishing possibility. Might the ancient Egyptians have had an understanding of flight mechanics long before recorded aviation history began? Could they have explored the principles of lift and glide centuries ahead of the Wright brothers' historic takeoff? Some experts propose that the Sakchara figure was not merely an artistic item, but a miniature model of an ancient glider, a tool possibly used for studying the behavior of objects in flight. If this theory holds true, it would imply that Egyptian craftsmen had an elementary grasp of aerodynamic concepts, a discipline not formally developed until millennia later. To put this hypothesis to the test, present-day aeronautical engineers created enlarged replicas of the artifact. They used lightweight materials and implemented subtle design tweaks to determine whether it could achieve flight. Surprisingly, with only minor adjustments, the model was able to glide through the air, suggesting that the original piece might have been conceived with flight functionality in mind rather than just visual appeal. Still, if this bird-shaped object was actually built to glide, then what role did it serve? Could it have been a child's plaything, an ancient flight experiment, or perhaps something entirely different? Some researchers argue that it may have represented a full-scale flying structure, implying that the ancient Egyptians might have experimented with larger aircraft. They reference ancient Egyptian writings that describe vessels navigating the skies, often dismissed as myth, and raise the possibility that such tales might refer to forgotten technologies. A more conventional interpretation is that the Sakchara object served a ceremonial purpose, perhaps tied to the god Horus, who was typically portrayed as a falcon. In Egyptian lore, Horus was intimately linked with the heavens and flight, and his imagery was deeply rooted in spiritual customs. According to this perspective, the bird sculpture might have symbolized Horus and his celestial domain, acting as an offering meant to bridge the world of the living with the afterlife. Another theory speculates that this object played a role in funerary rituals, potentially placed in tombs to signify the soul's journey into the afterlife. This interpretation aligns with ancient Egyptian beliefs about the spiritual transition beyond death. Skeptics, however, challenge the flight theory by noting that the object lacks key mechanical components essential for actual aviation, such as flaps, ailerons, or any kind of propulsion system. They argue that even if launched, it could only coast briefly before descending. Furthermore, numerous other similar avian figurines have been unearthed across Egypt with no concrete proof that any were designed for aerial movement. Yet, the debate remains unresolved. If the Sakchara bird was merely symbolic, why does it so closely mirror the design of modern gliders rather than natural birds? Was it a primitive attempt at understanding flight? A vestige of lost technology? Or just an unusually shaped relic that coincidentally resembles something recognizable to contemporary observers? Regardless of its true intent, whether it was a sacred offering, a toy, or a model for early aviation, the Sakchara bird stands as a testament to the intellectual depth of ancient civilizations. It suggests they might have possessed knowledge far beyond what we often attribute to them. Still, not all enigmas lie buried beneath the desert sands. Some are hidden in the depths of the oceans, where submerged ruins of entire cities await rediscovery beneath the waves. A peculiar piece of bone uncovered in Mexico, commonly known as the Star Child skull, ranks among the most baffling and debated humanoid skull discoveries ever made. Its bizarre form, unusually thin cranial walls, and oversized head have sparked decades of intense curiosity and discussion. While some researchers suggest it might stem from an exceptionally rare genetic abnormality, others propose far more extraordinary explanations, possibilities ranging from an undiscovered human branch to a crossbred species, or perhaps even an entity from beyond our world. The strange tale of the so-called Star Child began in the 1930s, when a young American girl, exploring a secluded cave in rural Mexico, came across two skeletons. One set of bones appeared normal, resembling a typical human body. However, next to it lay a bizarre, malformed skull, completely unlike anything ever documented. This skull was smaller in size, lighter in weight, and markedly distinct in appearance. The girl reportedly brought the curious artifact back with her to the United States, where it remained largely hidden in private hands for many years. It wasn't until the 1990s that the skull reemerged, attracting attention from paranormal investigator Lloyd Pye, who initiated a detailed inquiry into its background. Right from the start, the skull confounded experts. Despite weighing far less than a typical human skull, its bone was considerably more robust and compact. The volume of its cranium was about 50% greater than that of an average person, implying that it may have housed a brain significantly larger than that of any modern human. In addition, the eye sockets presented another mystery. They were shallow and wide, lacking the deep, round orbital cavities characteristic of human skulls. Even more unusually, the frontal sinuses, normally present in human skulls, were completely missing, another trait not found in any known human variation. Skeptics initially proposed a more grounded explanation, that this was a case of artificial cranial modification, a custom practice by several ancient cultures to elongate the skull through head binding. Yet this theory fell apart under detailed scientific scrutiny. While such cultural practices can reshape the skull externally, they do not affect internal characteristics such as cranial thickness, bone density, or brain volume. All of these were significantly different in this case, making the head binding theory insufficient to account for the skull's unusual features. As the search for answers continued, some experts proposed that the skull might be the outcome of a rare congenital condition, possibly hydrocephalus, a disorder that causes fluid to accumulate in the brain, swelling the skull. But hydrocephalus usually results in brittle, weakened bone, the exact opposite of the strong, lightweight substance found in this specimen. Moreover, that diagnosis failed to explain the shallow eye sockets, absent sinuses, or several other distinct structural irregularities that were present. To dig deeper, scientists conducted genetic analysis on the skull. Early DNA tests confirmed that the bone did contain human genetic material, but there were strange inconsistencies in the results that left researchers puzzled and unable to draw definitive conclusions. Their mere presence challenges all rational explanation. Hidden beneath the rolling terrain of Zhejiang province in China lies an underground marvel, an immense man-made cavern complex with no historical documentation, no inscriptions, and no known reason for its creation. These are the Longyu chambers, an extensive maze of giant hand-excavated grottos, so precisely crafted they seem more like the product of modern engineering than ancient workmanship. Yet, the true puzzle is not just their massive size, it's their total absence from the historical record. There are no written accounts, no legends, no architectural plans, nothing. It's as though they materialize from thin air, with no ancient society ever taking responsibility for their construction. The Longyu Caverns first came to light in 1992, when a group of local residents decided to investigate a local folk belief. For centuries, stories had circulated claiming that a series of shallow ponds in the area were bottomless. No matter how much water was drawn from them, they never emptied. Intrigued, the villagers began draining one of these mysterious ponds, expecting perhaps a natural hollow below. What they discovered was far beyond anything they had imagined. As the water receded, it revealed a colossal subterranean chamber, an artificial cave with smooth, polished surfaces, soaring ceilings, and elaborate geometric carvings etched into the stone. Encouraged by this revelation, they drained other ponds nearby, uncovering more of these immense underground spaces, each connected by corridors and passageways, forming a hidden labyrinth. The magnitude of the Longyu cave system is truly staggering. At present, over 24 distinct chambers have been identified, covering a total surface area exceeding 30,000 square meters or roughly 320,000 square feet. Some of these caves reach towering heights of nearly 100 feet. Their walls are incredibly smooth, as though shaped by modern machinery, not by ancient chisels. Unlike naturally formed caves, which result from eons of geological erosion, these show no signs of natural processes. Their angular structure, clean lines, and deliberate patterns clearly indicate human effort. Yet, here's where the mystery deepens further. There are absolutely no historical references to their construction. No excavation tools have been discovered. No rubble or waste rock has ever been found. If workers from ancient times carved these spaces by hand, where did all the removed stone go? The quantity of material that must have been extracted, millions of cubic feet, should have left evidence. But there is none. Experts estimate the caves date back at least 2 millennia, possibly constructed during the Qin dynasty 221–206 BC or even earlier. But that's little more than an educated guess, as there are no dates, engravings, or cultural indicators to confirm their origin. In a nation celebrated for its deep and thoroughly documented history, it's baffling that such a monumental construction could be built, then utterly forgotten. One of the most curious features of the caves are the repetitive motifs carved into the interior surfaces. These consistent, parallel chisel marks cover nearly every inch of the walls, suggesting symbolic intent or purposeful design. Some specialists believe the markings were purely ornamental, while others hypothesize they may have had structural benefits, possibly to stabilize the rock. But lacking any written records or guides, their true intent is still unknown. How could such a vast construction project have occurred without leaving behind any written trace? Some scholars speculate that the chambers may have served as a concealed military outpost, an underground city, or a sacred ceremonial site used for clandestine rituals. Other, more speculative theories propose the caves belong to a long-lost civilization, one that vanished before formal writing systems developed. A particularly controversial viewpoint suggests that the Longyu caves might have been built using forgotten or advanced ancient technology, perhaps a sophisticated method of stone manipulation far beyond what's typically attributed to early societies. The extraordinary smoothness of the surfaces, the engineering precision, and the total absence of expected tool marks raise questions about the techniques used in their creation. Despite extensive surveying, no signs of human habitation have ever been found inside the caves. No furniture, tools, hearths, or storage areas have been discovered. If these spaces were used for shelter, worship, or defense, there should be some evidence of human presence. Yet they are eerily empty, as if carved for a purpose that has completely vanished from memory. What adds another layer to this conundrum is the enduring integrity of the caves themselves. Though believed to be thousands of years old, these structures show no signs of collapse. There are no visible support beams, and yet the ceilings remain stable. The enormous weight of the overhead rock should have caused at least some degradation, but the chambers remain untouched, a testament to the unknown builder's engineering prowess. Ongoing excavations and research continue, with teams of archaeologists and geologists trying to determine who constructed the caves and for what reason. Still, no solid conclusions have been reached. With no written accounts, no inscriptions, and no artifacts to guide our understanding, the Longyu chambers remain one of China's most perplexing and awe-inspiring archaeological enigmas. Even today, the Longyu Cave Network stands as one of history's most profound underground puzzles, an extensive system of vast, carved chambers with no known creators, no documented purpose, and no logical explanation for their existence. The sheer size of the endeavor, the surgical precision of its execution, and the absence of any physical evidence challenge every conventional belief about ancient capabilities. Were these hollowed halls a forgotten fortress, a place of worship, or something even more extraordinary? Until concrete answers emerge, the Longu Caves will continue to mystify, a powerful reminder that our past holds secrets we are only just beginning to uncover. But not all mysteries are rooted in long-lost cultures or vanished architecture. Some are embedded in stories passed through generations, tales of beings so unusual, so different from us, that they blur the line between myth and reality. Discovered at an ancient burial site, a peculiar skeleton has left researchers grappling with more questions than answers. The bones, incredibly small in stature, stood out immediately, unlike anything previously unearthed from the same historical period. Initially, archaeologists presumed the remains might have been those of a young child. However, as the investigation progressed, it became evident that the bones belonged to a fully mature adult. Yet, despite reaching adulthood, the individual measured only about 3 feet in height, significantly shorter than the typical humans from that era. This unexpected find drew comparisons to a similar case on the Indonesian island of Flores. There, in 2003, scientists uncovered Homo floresiensis, famously referred to as the Hobbit. Those remains represented a separate early human species, also standing between 3 and 4 feet tall, and thought to have lived as recently as 50,000 years ago. Could the tiny skeleton found in Australia represent another branch of early humanity that vanished? Or was this a unique example of an unknown genetic mutation? Experts studying the skeleton were deeply puzzled. The bone structure did not correspond with any known pygmy populations, nor did it match the physical markers of common dwarfism or other related genetic conditions. Furthermore, the skull displayed unusual characteristics. It did not resemble modern Homo sapiens or other known ancient hominids. Its shape and proportions implied it was not merely a small version of modern humans. This led some to propose a bold theory that the bones might belong to a previously unidentified form of early humans, perhaps one that existed in ancient Australia long before the first Aboriginal populations arrived. If this hypothesis holds true, it would completely reshape the timeline and complexity of human history on the continent, suggesting multiple migration waves and potentially distinct populations that eventually vanished. One of the most controversial ideas to emerge from this discovery is the notion that the skeleton belonged to a mysterious race of small-bodied people. This idea has found curious support in mythologies around the globe. Many indigenous cultures, including those of Australia, tell stories of little people, diminutive beings who lived among or even before modern humans. In these tales, such creatures are sometimes benevolent helpers and other times mischievous or supernatural entities. Could these global legends be faint cultural memories of a real, now extinct human population? Critics, however, lean toward a more conservative explanation. They argue that the skeleton might be an extreme example of pathological dwarfism, a rare condition affecting bone development. While they acknowledge the uniqueness of the find, they emphasize that a single specimen cannot confirm the existence of a separate species without corroborating evidence. One significant obstacle to deeper understanding is that the skeleton has not undergone extensive scientific scrutiny. Much like the controversial Lovelock Cave discoveries, accounts of this find are scattered and not well documented in peer-reviewed literature. Some reports even suggest that the bones are currently held in a private collection, making further study nearly impossible. This raises an uncomfortable question. If the discovery is as significant as some believe, why hasn't it garnered more attention from the scientific community? Is it simply an obscure footnote in archaeology, or does it challenge widely accepted historical narratives in a way that some institutions prefer to avoid? Adding further intrigue, various Aboriginal Australian oral traditions speak of tiny, human-like beings who supposedly roamed the land long before the arrival of modern humans. Often referred to as Mimi or little spirits, these beings were described as thin, small, and incredibly old. Some legends claim they lived in isolated caves or remote wilderness, purposefully avoiding contact with larger human communities. While these stories are generally dismissed as folklore, it's striking how closely they mirror similar myths found in cultures worldwide, from European fairies to Native American little people. Could there be a shared memory across civilizations of ancient hominins with smaller stature? If the 10,000-year-old remains truly represent a previously unknown human species, they would strengthen the growing body of evidence suggesting that prehistoric humanity was more diverse than we once imagined. The discovery of Homo floresiensis already demonstrated that small-sized human relatives coexisted with larger ones throughout history. So, could Australia have also been home to its own miniature human species, isolated and forgotten? If so, what became of them? One theory is that they were slowly overtaken by larger, more technologically advanced human groups. Competing for limited resources, the smaller population may have gradually been pushed aside, absorbed, or driven to extinction. Over time, they could have left behind little more than faint biological echoes and oral legends. Another possibility is that they were uniquely suited to their environment, surviving in isolation for thousands of years until environmental shifts, disease, or encounters with other human populations led to their disappearance. If this was the case, then other skeletons like this one may still lie buried in the vast, unexplored wilderness of Australia, waiting to be unearthed. Despite the speculation, mainstream archaeology has taken a cautious stance. Without additional skeletons or hard evidence, experts refrain from claiming the discovery as proof of a lost species. The prevailing view is that it may represent either a rare genetic anomaly or an unclassified individual with unusual traits, rather than evidence of an entire unknown lineage. Still, the possibility remains. Until more such remains are found and scientifically verified, the complete truth behind this skeleton remains a riddle. The 10,000-year-old dwarf skeleton stands as yet another anomaly that challenges our current understanding of humanity's distant past. Whether it's the remnant of a lost species, a uniquely adapted human group, or simply an exceptional biological outlier, its existence provokes more questions than answers. How many other undiscovered hominins once walked the earth, now lost to time? And if their bones still lie hidden, what other secrets might be waiting in the earth, perhaps far beyond the places we expect to find them? While many ancient enigmas lie buried beneath the soil, others may rest even deeper in the dark, mysterious depths of the ocean floor. Hidden within a monumental stone city that has stood for millennia lies a fascinating puzzle, one that challenges our current understanding of ancient knowledge. This place is the Karnak Resonance Chamber, a curious structure located within Egypt's vast Karnak temple complex. Unlike the rest of the grand, sacred halls, this chamber possesses an acoustic phenomenon that continues to mystify scientists and visitors alike. Spanning more than 4,000 years in history, Karnak is among the most colossal spiritual centers ever created. Built by generations of Egyptian rulers near modern-day Luxor, it served as a hub of divine worship, royal authority, and architectural achievement. Yet, amid its majestic avenues and towering columns lies a small, confined room with a design that seems highly deliberate and mysteriously specialized. This room isn't remarkable in size, but in sound. When specific tones are produced within it, the noise doesn't behave like it would in a typical enclosed space. Instead, the sound echoes in a haunting, intensified manner, as though the very walls are enhancing and channeling the audio in some unknown way. What adds to the intrigue is the choice of material. The room is constructed from granite, a stone rich in quartz. Quartz is known for its piezoelectric properties, meaning it can emit an electrical charge when subjected to mechanical stress. Some theorists have speculated that this was not an accident, but a purposeful choice by ancient engineers. Could this chamber have been a sophisticated sound amplifier designed thousands of years ago? This brings forth a bold question. Did ancient Egyptian builders possess a deeper understanding of sound and energy than we currently give them credit for? The acoustic effects of this chamber, have sparked a wave of speculation. One popular theory is that it was used in spiritual rituals, its design amplifying sacred chants or spoken invocations to create a more profound spiritual encounter. Egyptian ceremonies often incorporated music, chanting, and vibrational elements. Many researchers believe this chamber was carefully crafted to intensify those experiences. Yet another hypothesis stretches beyond religion. Some suggest that the chamber could have been designed to influence the human mind. The resonating acoustics might have triggered altered states of consciousness, possibly aiding in meditation, mystical experiences, or even physical healing. If accurate, this theory implies that the Egyptians held advanced insights into the psychological and physiological effects of sound, concepts that contemporary science is only now beginning to explore. Interestingly, Karnak isn't the only ancient site where these odd acoustic properties have been observed. Similar effects have been recorded in other Egyptian sanctuaries, as well as in Mesoamerican pyramids and prehistoric monuments like Stonehenge. These sites all seem to share a focus on resonance and vibrational manipulation. Could it be that civilizations long ago understood how to use sound frequencies in ways modern societies have forgotten? Recent studies in neuroscience and biology support the idea that sound waves can impact the body and brain. Certain frequencies are known to influence brainwave activity, helping induce deep relaxation, heightened awareness, or even hallucinatory states. Other studies suggest that vibrations at particular levels can stimulate cellular activity, encouraging healing at a microscopic level. If the ancient Egyptians had discovered these effects millennia ago, it would suggest an extraordinary level of technological and scientific awareness, one that mainstream academia has yet to fully acknowledge. Still, conventional archaeology often dismisses such ideas, attributing the acoustic properties of Karnak's chamber to unintentional architectural happenstance. According to this view, the peculiar sound behavior is simply a result of the room's shape and materials, useful for ceremonies, perhaps, but not indicative of any lost technology. But this perspective fails to explain the room's unusual precision, its strategic location within the temple, and its unparalleled vibrational qualities. Could all of this really be accidental? Complicating the mystery further is evidence that parts of Karnak may have been purposefully defaced or dismantled over time. Could this suggest that knowledge about the chamber's original function was not only forgotten but actively hidden? Some theorists believe that the ancient Egyptians inherited advanced concepts from a much older, forgotten civilization. According to this idea, Karnak and similar sites worldwide might be built atop even earlier sacred locations once occupied by a lost culture that understood sound and energy in profound ways. If the Karnak resonance chamber was more than just a ritual space, what might its true function have been? Was it a healing room where vibrational frequencies were used to realign the body's energy? Was it a spiritual gateway designed to facilitate consciousness expansion? Or perhaps it was part of a larger, forgotten science, an ancient technology cloaked in stone and silence, waiting to be understood once more. Whatever the answer, this chamber remains a striking reminder that our ancestors may have known more than we assume. Whether intended for ritual use, consciousness alteration, or vibrational healing, the very existence of this acoustic anomaly prompts us to question what other truths remain buried in our past. Were these ancient architects merely brilliant builders? Or were they explorers of sound, energy, and the mind, realms that we are only beginning to rediscover? As we continue to investigate, one thing becomes clear. The past may still hold secrets that resonate deeply into our future. Massive spherical stones of mysterious origin have been found scattered across remote areas of Russia, enigmatic relics that seem to challenge our current understanding of ancient history. Known as the Russian megaspheres, these enormous, nearly flawless rock formations bear a striking similarity to the stone spheres discovered in Costa Rica, sharing their uncanny symmetry and smooth contours. Some of these giant orbs are nestled deep within the earth, partially hidden under centuries of soil and sediment. Others stand exposed on the surface, their purpose and origin unknown, almost as if waiting to be deciphered. Their sudden appearances have sparked theories ranging from rare geological phenomena to remnants of a lost prehistoric society. The existence of these Russian stone spheres first came to light when people living in regions such as Chelyabinsk, Volgograd, and Kemerovo stumbled across them. In some instances, mining operations unearthed them by accident. In others, erosion or landslides unveiled these incredible stones, long buried under layers of dirt and rock. Some of these structures measure up to 3 meters, about 10 feet across, and weigh several tons. Their large scale and near perfect roundness prompted immediate speculation. Could these have formed through natural forces, or are they the remnants of an ancient culture capable of shaping stone with extraordinary precision? Perhaps the most widely discussed cluster of these spheres was found in the Volgograd region. Their arrangement caught the attention of both local experts and curious observers. They didn't appear to be scattered at random. Instead, many were grouped in deliberate patterns or aligned in nearly straight paths, suggesting intentional placement. Just as in Costa Rica, this layout led some to believe they served a particular function or symbolic purpose. One early explanation, favored by many in the scientific community, is that these spheres are concretions, natural rock formations created over vast periods of time as minerals gather around a core. Similar formations have been discovered elsewhere on Earth, like the Moraki boulders in New Zealand and Canada's fairy stones. However, critics of this theory argue that the Russian spheres stand apart in significant ways. Unlike standard concretions, which are often uneven or layered, many of these Russian spheres exhibit remarkably smooth surfaces. Some even seem to feature fine grooves or impressions, details that hint at the use of tools or machinery, possibly for cutting or polishing. These subtle features have led to speculation that the spheres, while possibly of natural origin, may have been refined or repurposed by ancient people. This leads to a second hypothesis, that the spheres were not natural at all, but purposefully shaped by a civilization that predates written history. Some believe they were sacred objects used in religious rites or spiritual rituals. Others suggest they might have been astronomical tools, territorial markers, or components of some long-lost construction system. Another theory proposes that the spheres once served a technological role, perhaps linked to the storage or transmission of energy, structural stabilization, or a yet undiscovered form of architecture. Lending weight to this idea is the depth at which some spheres have been found, embedded in geological layers that suggest immense age. If these were placed by human hands, it could point to the existence of a highly advanced culture in ancient Russia long before the dawn of recorded civilization. A more speculative idea, supported by some fringe researchers, is that these massive stones weren't created by humans at all. Instead, they propose the spheres may be extraterrestrial relics, leftovers from an era when otherworldly beings observed or visited Earth. In this view, the orbs could have served as beacons, markers, or devices left behind by advanced intelligences. While there's no solid evidence to support this claim, the unusual features of the spheres continue to feed such theories. There's also the possibility that the spheres were once part of a greater architectural whole, a larger megalithic complex that has long since crumbled. Much like how ancient civilizations used massive stones to build temples, pyramids, and fortresses, it's been suggested that these spherical stones might have served as load-bearing elements, anchors, or focal points within a long-lost structure. If true, it would mean that a monumental site once existed in ancient Russia, now lost to time and the forces of nature. Despite the excitement surrounding these discoveries, the Russian megaspheres have attracted only limited academic interest. Comprehensive research has been sparse, and much remains speculative. Some of the spheres have been relocated from their original sites, placed in museums, or displayed publicly, making it harder to understand their original setting and purpose. Many more remain underground, unexcavated, and undefended. The Russian stone spheres stand as mysterious relics of the past, their massive form and near-perfect geometry resisting easy categorization. Were they crafted by a forgotten civilization? Are they ancient monuments with hidden significance? Or do they represent an incredibly rare natural phenomenon that just happens to mimic human craftsmanship? Until more rigorous investigations are carried out, these giant stone orbs will remain among Russia's most perplexing archaeological riddles, silent echoes of a narrative that has faded from memory. And while some ancient mysteries are preserved in stone, others are buried within the pages of history, written accounts that hint at knowledge far ahead of their time, describing ideas and abilities that challenge what we believe was possible. A document exists that seems to illustrate the icy continent of Antarctica long before it was officially identified, and perhaps even before it was encased in its thick ice cover. This intriguing artifact is called the Piri-Reis map, and it sparks a provocative question. Did an ancient society chart Antarctica well before history says it was even discovered? The Piri-Reis map dates back to the year 1513 and was crafted by a Turkish naval commander and mapmaker known as Piri-Reis. This hand-drawn chart, created on animal skin parchment, outlines what was then the recognized world, featuring the shorelines of Europe, Africa, and portions of the Americas. Yet what sets this ancient map apart is its inclusion of what appears to be the Antarctic coastline, despite the continent not being officially sighted until 1820. Even more curious is that the map seems to show Antarctica as ice-free, presenting coastal contours that resemble the land beneath the continent's frozen shell, details modern scientists only recently uncovered through seismic imaging. This revelation astonished modern geographers and geologists. When they matched the map's coastal outlines to present-day scientific scans of Antarctica's subglacial geography, the resemblance was shockingly precise. But in the 16th century, no one should have had access to this information. So, how did Piri-Reis know? Piri-Reis himself offers a potential clue. He never claimed full authorship of the map's content, instead stating he compiled it from earlier navigational charts, some of which, he believed, were hundreds or even thousands of years old. According to him, his sources included documents from ancient Greek, Roman, and possibly Phoenician origin. This opens the door to a surprising possibility that ancient cultures may have once possessed accurate knowledge of Antarctica's true landscape. One of the map's most astonishing aspects is the implication that it portrays Antarctica without its ice cover. Based on current scientific consensus, the last time Antarctica was largely ice-free was over 6,000 years ago, possibly far longer. If this map truly captures that earlier state, it would suggest that someone charted the Antarctic continent many millennia ago, during an era when such technological ability wasn't supposed to exist. This naturally leads to a provocative question. Who created the source material for Piri-Reis's map? Theories abound, each one more intriguing than the last. One hypothesis proposes that an advanced civilization thrived before the last ice age, capable of oceanic navigation and geographic documentation beyond what we credit to early cultures. Some suggest these skills may have originated with the ancient Egyptians, Sumerians, or an unknown lost people with sophisticated mapping abilities. These skills may have been transmitted through generations until they finally reached Piri-Reis. Another school of thought posits that early seafaring peoples like the Phoenicians or Minoans may have ventured as far south as Antarctica, achieving what modern history denies. If true, this would mean ancient navigation was far more advanced than typically acknowledged. Still, one puzzle remains. Even if these early mariners reached Antarctica, how could they have mapped its hidden, ice-covered shores? Some alternative thinkers propose that the Antarctic ice sheet may have developed more recently than science currently asserts, perhaps following a catastrophic natural event. In this version of events, A civilization may have explored and documented the continent before it was swallowed by ice. However, this idea clashes with prevailing geological research, which indicates that Antarctica has been covered in ice for millions of years. Then there's the most controversial theory of all, that the Piri-Reis map is evidence of forgotten high technology from an unidentified origin. According to this view, some ancient cultures may have possessed aerial observation tools, advanced astronomical instruments, or even been assisted by an unidentified intelligence, human or otherwise, that allowed them to map the globe with extraordinary accuracy. Though this theory is often dismissed as pseudoscience, it does draw attention to one undeniable fact. Many early maps feature geographic accuracy far ahead of their time, correctly outlining coastlines and continents not officially discovered until centuries later. Skeptics argue that the portion of the Piri-Reis map thought to represent Antarctica is actually a misrepresentation, a distorted version of South America's southern coastline. However, this explanation does not fully address the close resemblance between the map's contours and modern seismic readings of Antarctica's real terrain. The level of precision is simply too high to dismiss easily. The Piri-Reis map remains a compelling artifact that suggests our understanding of history may be missing critical chapters. It points to the possibility of ancient knowledge that predates modern science by thousands of years. If early civilizations were capable of such advanced cartography, what else might they have known? Could entire cultures have existed that left behind no written records, but demonstrated extraordinary understanding of our world? These questions are as thrilling as they are unsettling, suggesting that the roots of human knowledge may reach deeper and further than we've ever imagined. Sometimes, history's deepest secrets aren't frozen in glaciers, they're preserved in ink, quietly challenging the story we think we know. In the 19th century, a discovery emerged that wasn't just strange, it defied all logic. Deep beneath an ancient burial mound, a team of explorers reportedly found human skulls bearing bizarre horn-like growths emerging from the forehead. These skeletal remains, now referred to as the horned skulls of Ser, have gone on to become one of the most hotly debated and perplexing archaeological riddles in American history. The first whispers of this tale date back to the late 1800s, when a group of antiquarians and diggers in Ser, Pennsylvania, claimed to have unearthed towering skeletons, reportedly over 7 feet tall, with solid bony extensions jutting out just above the brow. While the rest of their anatomy appeared human, these horn-like formations made them wholly unique, like no known variant of the human form. Reports claim that the skulls were sent to a local research facility for examination. But then, something strange happened. The specimens vanished. No records, no photos, no trace. With the bones missing, what remained was a controversial tale caught in the tug-of-war between scientific inquiry and speculative lore. The first question that naturally arises is whether the entire story was an elaborate fabrication. Many skeptics suggest the incident was either an honest misreading of skeletal deformities or a completely invented account, crafted during a time when public interest in giants, lost races, and peculiar relics was at an all-time high. Sensationalism sold well in the 19th century, after all. Yet, some argue the account deserves serious consideration. The region around Ser has long been associated with ancient burial grounds, many of which predate the arrival of European settlers by several millennia. Indigenous peoples once inhabiting the area told tales of giant beings, mythic ancestors, or powerful spirits said to have walked the earth long ago. Could those stories have been rooted in actual discoveries, ones that defied traditional historical frameworks? If the horned skulls were indeed genuine, what could explain their existence? One scientific possibility is genetic mutation. Modern medicine recognizes conditions like exostosis, in which bony growths develop on the skull. However, these are typically irregular and small, nothing like the symmetrical, horn-shaped protrusions described in Ser. If a small population with such an extraordinary mutation once lived and died in this region, their remains could point to a previously undocumented branch of humanity, one that has since disappeared from both sight and record. Another interpretation is that the horned skulls were the result of intentional cranial alteration. Ancient cultures across the globe practiced head-shaping rituals, where infant skulls were bound to create elongated forms, often for cultural or religious purposes. Some researchers speculate that an unknown North American society may have taken cranial shaping further, perhaps even crafting horn-like forms. But here's the catch. No evidence has yet emerged of any ancient American culture engaging in deliberate horn skull deformation. The most controversial idea is that these skulls weren't entirely human at all. Some propose they belong to a hybrid species, or perhaps to a completely unknown type of being. Fringe theorists connect the horned skulls to the Nephilim, legendary giants mentioned in ancient biblical scripture, often portrayed as part divine, part human. Even more far-reaching is the theory that these remains are signs of extraterrestrial involvement, that contact with beings from beyond Earth may have influenced early human populations, or even introduced new biological forms entirely. It's a notion most mainstream scientists reject, but it persists because the original skulls, and thus definitive answers, are missing. But perhaps the greatest mystery is not what these skulls were, but what became of them. If they truly existed, why are they gone? Why did they disappear from the historical and scientific record? Some suggest the bones were quietly removed, destroyed, or hidden, perhaps because they didn't align with established scientific models of human history. Others believe they could still exist, tucked away in the forgotten backrooms of a museum or held in a private collection, waiting to be rediscovered. Without tangible evidence, the horned skulls of Ser remain one of the most maddening and unresolved puzzles in North American archaeology. Were they a clever hoax, the result of an unusual disease, or evidence of something far more profound? History is full of enigmas, some etched into ancient tablets, others entombed in lost ruins, and a few, like this one, fading into legend. These stories we explore are just glimpses into a past filled with secrets, and the deeper we dig, the more it seems that truth is stranger than we ever imagined. If you found this journey through the unexplained intriguing, don't forget to subscribe and check out more of our deep dives into hidden histories and unsolved wonders. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.